How are you? Hello and welcome to Their Voice Television, a show basically about animals. I don't have an introduction because we forgot it at home. Always remember that meow means woof and cat. Today we have a special show with a very good friend of mine. His name is Steven Ferraro. He's a groomer for Clippity Doo Dog. Very good friend. He's actually also a vet tech for A Hand for Paw, which he helps us out with our nonprofit organization. We have him here with all these wonderful toys, which come to realize this dog comb is great to do your beard. I spend my time like just a regular comb, which is garbage. So welcome, Steve. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
How long have you been a groomer?
I've been a groomer for about 7 years now.
7? Wow, really?
Yeah.
It's amazing how much time goes by. What made you pick that line of work?
I was at a job and not satisfied, and I love animals.
What did you do before?
I actually worked as a facility supervisor for a university. And I realized that the pet industry was about $52 billion at the time per year, grown annually at $4 billion. So I decided why not give it a shot. There's money in it, and I love dogs.
Any difficult parts of it that you didn't know when you first started?
It is
Anything
more
that took you by
difficult than one would
surprise? Yeah.
think, and obviously dogs do act up, and you have to try to contain them, control them while you're using sharp tools on them. The hardest part would be doing dogs for numerous of years when they're puppies, and eventually they grow up and they get sick and they pass on and they become part of your family.
That is tough.
And that's one thing many groomers don't
Take into consideration.
take in consideration.
Yeah, I can only imagine. How many clients would you say you do in an average day?
I'm mobile, so I'm not a shop groomer. So mobiles, we do much less, and I probably average between 5 and 6 dogs per day.
That's a lot of work.
Yes,
That really is a lot
one
of work.
person doing all the bathing and the clipping.
Now, in the state of Connecticut, do you have to be licensed or do you have to be certified in anything?
You do not have to be licensed or certified in Connecticut, but you do have to have your van or your shop has to be approved by the Department of Agriculture
So basically, they're just inspecting it like for health reasons.
for health reasons and sanitation reasons.
But so you don't really have to go to the school for it at all?
You do not have to go to school to be a dog groomer.
Wow, but you did.
But I did.
Okay.
I went to a school for 200 hours, learn how to dog groom. Other groomers would go to a shop and become apprentice. They'll start off as a
Okay.
bather and work their way up.
About how much does a school cost on average? Do you?
Anywhere is between $3,000 and $5,000 to go to school. Yes.
Well, it's well worth it. I mean, you're getting the major
You usually get a
experience.
really good education. You do a lot of dogs.
Well, let's start off with some questions. There's a lot of people that are always wondering certain things about animals, and one of them is how often should you bathe your dog? Not so much a groomer, but just an average pet owner. What would you say from your experience?
Definitely no more or about 4 weeks on average.
About a month. Okay,
About
that
a
makes
month.
sense. That's what
Yes.
I
I
thought.
wouldn't do it earlier. Some people like to do it 3 weeks. You're really stripping all the oils off of their skin. So you want to, once you bathe the dog, oils get stripped off their skin, and in time the oils rise back to the surface, and that's what keeps the coat shiny and healthy.
Does it depend on the type of animal or like certain types of coats of fur? Like
No, basically all types.
Interesting. Now, how often should a pet owner brush their dog?
Depending on the type of coat the dog has.
Okay.
If it's a poodle, if it's a curly coat, a dog that can mat easily, they should be brushing it a few times a week.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. And if it's a short coat, it really doesn't matter.
It really
You
doesn't
just-
matter.
No. What is the difference between hair and fur when it comes to dogs?
I have no clue.
No?
It's all hair.
That's actually, it's funny
all
because I
hair.
read
There
that
you go.
recently when I was looking up the questions. Somebody had stated that. Like,
It's
there's
hair.
really, it's just
Yeah,
hair.
it's hair.
Just hair. What is easier for you to groom? Like, do you have to use different tools for hair or fur? Like, for example, like poodle or
Well, there's different types of coat growth.
Right.
So a poodle is what they call a defined growth, undefined growth. So it's not going to shed, it's going to keep growing and growing and growing. It's why it's important that you brush these dogs. And you would use a slicker brush on them, which is more of a wire brush. You would tease the hair out and get it straight and then clip it.
Okay. What would you say, we probably already went into that, but for like, let's say a shepherd, what would be the best, something with thick fur like that? What?
A shepherd being, it's more of a defined coat, so it has a certain amount it's going to grow and then it's going to shed off. Once again, a slicker is good with it, a pin brush is good with it, and then you kind of end it with a comb. Once you get the comb through the hair, it means that you're knot free
Oh, okay.
and tangle free.
Now, for like a Bichon, would you
Same as a poodle, same type of coat. You use a slicker.
really? Now, what about like a Chihuahua? So, I mean, really, really short hair.
You basically wouldn't brush them.
You just comb? I mean, well, how
short
about a
hair
long
or-
hair? Like we have a long, we have some Chihuahuas on screen if you want to take a look. Shorter, and then like that one in the back looks like it has a little bit of a longer coat.
You could use a pin brush, one of these, which is a simple little pin brush, just to. And by brushing, it also brings the oils once again to the top
That's the
of
big thing, huh?
Is a sebaceous gland, and you'll stimulate it, and that produces the oils.
How long does it take for it, like for the production actually to come to? Is that something you have to do so many times to have the oil actually come out, or no? It just like immediately it starts to.
It would start. I mean, you won't really see it, but it would start to come out. Yes, within hours.
Okay. Do you have any tips for nail cutting?
Patience. A lot of patience. Don't worry about the dog's nails going too short. A lot of people have a lot of anxieties when clipping the dog's nails because they may have once gotten the quick, which is the nerve ending. You don't have to go far back. The key is to get it where, when they're standing straight up, that the nail does not touch the ground or
that's
touch the
pretty much
floor
it.
at all. So all they really have to do is tip it. The best way to do it is actually to bend the paw backwards instead of bringing the paw forwards towards you.
Okay. Okay, because everybody always ends up.
Yeah, it's easier if you turn it backwards. You can see more of where the quick is going to be when you clip it.
Now, what are your tips for actually cutting the fur underneath the paw, especially like now in wintertime with the salt and everything?
It's
like,
important that you keep it trimmed. The hair could mat in between the paws, and especially now you get snow and the ice and the salt that people put down, it gets stuck in between the paws. If you have too much hair will grow there, dogs will slide on hardwood floors, on linoleum floors.
Right, okay.
It's harder for them to walk. So a combination of long nails and a lot of hair on the paw make it very hard for that dog to hold its balance.
Now, what about ears? That's always an issue. Cleaning ears. Any tips for cleaning ears?
Ears should be cleaned at least a couple of times a month, depending on the activity of your dog. Once again, like your own ear, your elbow, those can't get your elbow, don't do it. The dog's ear, don't go into the canal. You really should just be doing around the base of the ear.
And you don't use like nobody uses Q-tip.
Don't use Q-tips. We use just a makeup removing pad that they use to remove makeup. And we just squirt a little bit of the medicine down there, the lotion down there, the cleaner down there,
Really?
and just massage the bulb of the ear
Just
and then clean it out.
different things for different types of dogs. Like, I mean, you don't like. Have you ever had to deal with a bloodhound or anything with like the longer ear?
Well, the long ears, you have to watch out for ear infections because their ears are dropped, which lets air to get into that. And at that point, you may find more infections with dogs with dropped ears.
In comparison to like something like Adobe with like the cut ears.
Someone has perked up ears, yes.
Okay. Any of the tips you could suggest, things that people really should look for, dogs that you groom, things that annoy you that people should be doing with their animals that they don't?
Well, they should be brushing their dogs.
Most people don't, huh?
And that's it. When dogs become matted, mats do hurt the dogs. It makes me have to shave the dog down. That's where they become very disappointed when
Yeah.
they see their dog
'Cause they
totally
expect you to be a
shaved
miracle
down.
worker, yeah.
To demat a dog, we use a dematting tool. And I always like to show people this. It's a sharp knife type tool that will hurt the dog. It's unpleasant. So once I show them that tool, they become better at brushing their dogs.
Just scare the hell out of them. Okay, well, you know what? Now that we have all this stuff, Steve was pretty cool about bringing a lot of his toys, his tricks of the trade. Could you go over each one and tell us what exactly they do?
Sure. Well, these are your nail clippers. There's usually two sides, there's different types of nail clippers, and these are the ones I would use. I would use these for the larger dogs.
So you don't like the one with the like the
With
guillotine?
the guillotine, I'm not a fan. If you're comfortable with it, that's
No,
fine.
no.
It's just-
I don't like
yeah.
them. I've started
These are what I'm
using
more
this
comfortable
recently.
with, and smaller dogs, I like to use the smaller ones. Easier to handle when you're handling the dogs.
This is cool. Doggy Man. And how much does something like this go for about?
It depends. You could go to your local pet store and you could get it for a couple of dollars. Something like that is more on the professional line. May cost you more like $25.
Interesting. Cool. Actually, the one I have at home doesn't feel as
Yeah, there is a difference
durable
in-
as this. It's probably a
Professional
lot.
ones are made to last.
Yeah, it's
We're-
probably a
we're
lot
cutting
sharper, yeah.
40 nails, pairs of nails a week.
And you had already mentioned.
That's your slicker brush, which is a smaller one. They come in all different shapes and sizes. It's this wire brush with a little bit of an angle, and that's good for your poodles, your Bijans.
Is there a difference in brushes from each side or no? Like why
On the
is-
side of the brush?
Yeah.
No, it's just two sides.
Is this blade on the top that's covered?
No.
Oh. So it's not. Oh,
That's
okay.
just a style of a slicker. They come in numerous styles and shapes. This is a style that I bought here.
Now, how much would something like this go for about?
Once again, you could get your slickers any pet store. You could pay
Slicker brush.
$10 or you could pay up to $80.
Oh, before I move on, the clippers that actually are electronic and have the light. That
Don't
could
waste
find-
your money, yeah.
Okay, I was just okay.
Yeah.
Those are just crap. 'Cause-
Yeah, you would know when you clip a dog's nails, you would begin, if you have a black dog, you would see like a white little dot. Or if you have clear nails, you would see like a purple dot.
Because it always seems to be the
And
issue
that's the
everybody
quick.
talks about with black nails, how difficult it is.
It is, once again, you start short and you take a little bit off at a time. And don't go too short.
And you'll see the white.
And you would see you'll see the quick, you'll see the nerve ending.
Okay. And this bad boy.
That's just your traditional pin brush. It's good, once again, on shepherds, any dog really, but it's good to work on shepherds and say huskies.
Okay. Does the length of the pins have anything to do with it? No. Okay. And of course, you have a rechargeable lithium ion. This is nice. This is a really nice one.
That's a cordless clipper, and that particular one has a comb on it. We have combs with different length on the blade,
Oh, yeah.
depending how short the client or how long the client wants their dog.
And then, of course, this bad boy.
That's your dematter. It's a very scary tool. Once again, the trick is to get that into the mat and to break the mat up. You're pulling on the dog's skin, not pleasant experience, and that's why I usually like to show it to the clients.
Wow, that's sharp.
Yes, it is.
That's really
It's
sharp.
yeah.
Wow. And how much? I mean, is this sold just to groomers or anybody?
No,
could
you could probably find one in your local pet store. A couple of dollars. They're not that expensive.
And does this get dull? Like, do you have to
No,
sharpen?
no.
Okay.
But I wouldn't recommend it for the home.
Yeah, because then they
Yeah.
just go crazy. Because usually, if they need this, because they have too many mats, so they should have
just
thought of
shave
yeah.
that dog and start all over. Hair will grow back.
And I commented on the scissors before the show. They feel good. They're not your typical scissors. And you had said that these weren't even considered like.
They're medium for professional line. They're lower end for professionals, higher end for amateurs. Come in curve, or they come in straight. Those are curves.
These are cool. How many sets of scissors do you have?
6, 7.
6.
Yeah.
Again, different scissors for fur, hair, depth, or it doesn't
No,
really matter.
no, no,
Scissors are
no,
scissors.
no.
and-
Scissors are scissors. It's just a tool that groomers have a habit of buying too many of them.
Now the curve would be for if you're cutting just like a round edge on a dog.
If you have a kind of round curved edge. I mean, some groomers who use curves all the time. I'm one of those groomers. I would use a curve. I would use the flat end of it. They come in different
Right,
lengths.
just
Those are
angle
my
it.
shorter scissors or shears.
And of course, this one, which I enjoy truly.
Your typical comb.
I love this. This is nice. Feels good. Why metal?
Sturdier, lasts longer for, say, professional
all.
groomers. Once again, you got the different width between the teeth. These we'll use for more breaking up tangles, and these just to go through thicker hair.
Cool. Well, thank you for bringing all this stuff.
You're welcome.
Thank you for letting me use this. So now, for a lot of young people out there who want to be groomers, what advice do you have?
Once again, try to get a job in a shop. Start off as a bather. Bathing process and the drying process is very important. It's the if you need to do that well to get a good finishing trim on a dog. Starting off this way, you'll get to know the business before you jump in and spend money on school. It's very different from liking dogs and just wanting to work with dogs. You have to like dogs, have a lot of patience, and understand it's a lot of hard work. So a lot of shops will invite you in as a bather and a
Really?
dryer to work for them, and a lot of them will advance you up if you show some kind of enthusiasm towards it.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, people tend to always do the whole, well, I love animals. As being an ex-animal control officer, everybody used to come to the shelter and be like, I love animals, I want to be an animal control officer. And I'm like, it's two different worlds.
Yes,
And just
same
like being, to
for
me, I want to actually compliment him because realistically, people don't realize, even as an animal control officer, as dangerous as the job is, I usually always had a pole or some type of protection between me and that dog. Groomers don't. Groomers actually are in there face to face, in the dog's face, pulling and tugging and cutting and shaving. And most of these dogs, until you get used to them, you don't even know who they are.
Yes,
You really don't
yeah.
know the dog or know the dog's temperament.
you-
Because all pet owners, will say, "Oh, my dog is wonderful."
Perfect, because they don't see them
Yeah,
on a table. They don't
exactly.
see them being groomed.
Yeah,
And,
and,
like
you
I
know-
always say, I'm the guy throwing water in their face. How would you feel?
Exactly. Have you been bitten?
Unfortunately, I have. Really just once I've been bitten, and that was just because it was a very anxious dog. It was a rescue dog. We had a lot of problems with it. And the dog more or less was having a hard time on the table, and it was in a situation where it was in danger, so I had an option of grabbing the dog or letting the dog possibly get hurt. And
What kind of dog?
it was a pit bull boxer mix.
Yeah, no, a lot of people don't realize it's a very different environment. They're in their home safe, even mobile grooming. I mean, you're in a van with a strange person until you really get used to that person. It's
Sure.
Or even in a grooming facility. It's, you're having people poking and prodding at you. You don't realize this dog has no idea what's going on. And usually mom and dad are not next to you. You don't really
No,
have
I
that.
won't really allow. They'll act up if the pet parents
Yeah, no,
are
they
with
act
them.
completely
Yeah,
different.
they
Yeah,
act
no,
up.
you shouldn't do that.
You have to communication. The dogs are always talking to you on that table. Every move a dog makes, they're speaking to you. So you'll learn how to read their body language.
Is it everything you thought it was going to be?
Harder, but yes, everything I thought it was going to be. Now I'm in love with my career. Absolutely.
Is the money good?
The money's phenomenal. You work for it, but the money is really good. Once again, the pet industry in general, averaging about $4 billion per year, and that
Yeah.
was since the beginning of the recession. Grooming and food are on the top of the list.
It's amazing.
Yes, it is. A lot of pets.
Now, what about the van per se? Like, why did you choose a van instead of an actual location?
A brick and mortar or a shop is much different than a van. A brick and mortar, a shop, you have to basically do 30 dogs a day to make the same kind of income. They charge at least $20 to $30 less. You have to hire employees, kind of assembly line. The mobile grooming is a lot easier in a sense where you do less dogs a day, you're a little bit more free, but on the other end of it, you're doing everything. A lot of shops, the groomers, they groom. They don't bathe, they don't do the nails, they don't bathe, dry.
Oh yeah, no, you're doing everything in the van.
The mobile person would do everything.
I actually had the pleasure once, and I just remember now, and maybe we could add it in post-production. He asked me to go out with him on a call for a really beautiful, beautiful dog, which you still groom him?
I
or-
saw him 2 days ago, actually.
What's his name was?
Zach.
Zach.
The shepherd mix.
Zach was the size of a small car. So you have both of us huddled inside of a van with Zach. And once this gentleman started grooming, doing his magic on the dog, the funny thing is he hands me a mask, goggles, full protection, completely covered head to toe. And at first I was like, are you kidding me? Like, what's going on? And he was like, you'll see. Once he started brushing the dog on and going at it, I couldn't see Steve standing near me because there was so much fur flying everywhere. It was amazing. And that's when you realize it's not what people think it is. It's really not. It's,
And there is something called groomer's lung. It's a real condition that some groomers will have after grooming for years and years. They're breathing into here, they're breathing into debris.
groomer's lung.
Groomer's lung. So it's important that we wear a mask at all times. We don't want to breathe in things that are coming off that dirty dog and the hair and all the debris. Yes.
Groomer's lung. Wow. Okay. Now, cost of the van.
Some people convert their own vans.
Really?
Some people, there's actually 2 or 3 big companies out there. They make trailers and they make vans. Average price for a new van by one of these specialty companies, you're looking at $75,000.
Wow.
Very expensive, but when you compare it to a rent,
I was gonna say, yeah.
it comes out the same.
Anything now that you are a mobile groomer that you kind of regret about not having a brick and mortar place, or?
I like the idea of having a brick and mortar and it's not off the table. I like having more of a boutique, maybe sell some food, some clothes, just a little bit more of a interactive with the dogs.
Now, besides grooming, I also want to share, you actually just, well, not recently, but it was a little while ago, you graduated from massage.
Yes, I
For
am
dogs.
certified in small animal massage.
So hopefully when the cameras go off, you can give me a massage.
I can
That-
give you
that
a
would be
massage.
nice
We
while
do
I'm,
learn on people first.
while I'm using this comb.
Yes,
That would be kind
that
of
would
nice.
be really
Yeah.
erotic.
Why'd you get into that?
I wanted to learn a new skill working with animals. When you groom them, you're a lot of patience, but you're not necessarily giving them joy. And I wanted to go into something that would give an animal joy. Thought it'd be a great add-on for my business.
Not to cut you off, that's a very good point. Why do you mention the fact that you're not always giving them joy? Because I think that's something that people tend to forget when it comes to grooming. They drop off their dogs or cats at a groomer and they assume they're having the time of their life in there. A lot of times they're out of, like I said, they're out of their environment.
Sure.
And now, again, they're being handled, even though they may be handled carefully, it's still, you're having all of these wonderful things pointed at you and, shaving your fur and, cleaning around your eyes and cleaning your ears and cutting your nails. It's not a resort for the animal.
No, it's not. It's not like a day at a spa for a human.
So that's
They have a
very
lot
good
of
point.
anxieties. They're being tugged a lot. They're a little confused. The mobile grooming is good for those type of dogs because it's less separation anxiety.
True. You're
They're
literally right
still on
there.
their property.
Right.
Their sense of smell is very strong. They can still smell the property. They can still see the
never
property.
thought about that. That's a good point.
Yeah,
Right.
they're not away from home. They're not stuck in a cage for hours and hours. There's normally at a shop they'll groom a dog and put it in a cage, wait for the parents to come to pick them up. So it does reduce the anxiety. And some dogs do like to be groomed. I mean, some dogs really enjoy it. Some dogs just don't.
Odd thing, but do you think it has anything to do at all with breed?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
So it's just hit or miss?
It's
just
a hit or miss with the dogs, yes.
Not name names, but like any specific breeds that were more difficult for you to groom than other dogs, or
Difficult with personality or maintenance?
Maintenance,
Your
maintenance.
poodles, your Labradors, your Labradoodles, your Bichons are a lot more work. They have, once again, the hair that gets thick, that gets curly. Pet parents have a tendency to let that hair get matted. It's a little hard. And some golden retrievers, too, when they get too big, since we overfeed our pets.
yes, we do. I'm guilty of that too. So at that point, it's either you try to get through it with this or shave them.
Or reshave them. I generally do minor amount of dematting. It's common, it's okay if they have a mat here or there. It's when the whole body gets matted.
Not really much you can do there. Wow, that's pretty tough. Now, while you're in the grooming vehicle, do you ever need assistance? I mean, you did ask me that one time, but I mean, are there grooming vehicles that have 2 or 3 people in
Some mobile groomers will use 2 or 3 people,
Really?
or at least 2, a partner with them. I don't. I find the partner is in my way. In the instance with you, I needed you to help me keep Zach up since he had some neurological problems and he wouldn't stand.
How is he doing? Good?
Zach is doing well. He's much older. He has a little bit of dementia problem. So when I have to go in and get him, it's very hard because he's on the couch and he won't get off and mom and dad aren't home, which is another beauty of mobile grooming. A lot of my clients just give me their key codes and garage code and I could go get the dog. Almost got bit by him a few times now.
Really?
So I have to basically lasso him with a lead, like I'm getting a cow, till I get around his neck and then he comes. But he's doing good.
You had used a rope. I remember you had somebody had invented to hold the dog up to the pole. What was the name
Or
of
the
that?
Groomer Helper, which
The Groomer's
is
Helper.
a company who really helped the grooming world. And all it is a normal lead around the neck of the dog to hold it up, and then another one that attaches to a bar. And it actually prevents the dog from turning around and biting. It kind of keeps his head steady. So the groomer now could work on certain areas of the dog
Now,
without muzzling him.
how much does something like that cost?
It's about $100 for the groomer.
So without that, there's no way to stabilize the dog to the table.
To turn around? No, not really. He can still turn around. And at that point, you use a muzzle. And you try not to groom with the muzzle. Muzzles sometimes backfire. It could calm a dog down, but it can make him more anxious.
And people always, whenever there's an issue with a dog, it's just muzzle them. And to me, it's most of the time it just makes things worse.
Yeah, it could. And in the grooming world, I really don't want to muzzle them because I have to work on the face and
Face,
clean the
exactly.
face. It's just a matter, once again, communicating with the dog, reading the dog. People ask me sometimes with a new client, how long is this going to take? And I would say generally, say an hour, but it's really up to the dog. He'll let me know when the groom is over. There's a lot of things sometimes you just can't do. And it's not worth the risk with the sharp tools. So either the dog's going to get injured, I could get injured.
Well, that's actually leading to another question. When it comes to timing, how long are you usually in somebody's driveway? Like, I mean, I know it depends on the dog.
Depends on the dog. A lot of my clients have been out, they're on schedules. It's every 4 weeks, every 6 weeks, every 8 weeks. So the dogs are well maintained, anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half.
Hour to an hour and a half.
Yeah. And that's a complete groom.
And okay, so now a complete groom consists of what?
Doing their nails, shaving their pads, cleaning
Okay.
their ears, giving the bath, conditioner, and then the blow dry, and then the final clip.
And that's an hour, hour and a half.
Hour, an hour and a half. Depends on the size of the dog.
It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, but you get, it's a routine. You get into it, and it's still very enjoyable. A bad day grooming is better than a good day someplace else.
True. No, true. But the thing is, when you're working, you had said 5 to 6 dogs a day.
A day, yeah. Well, four to six, yeah.
That's a lot of.
It could
that's
be a
lot
lot.
of work. Backbreaking work. I mean, how do you handle the larger dogs putting them up on the table and taking them down? I mean, that in itself.
It's backbreaking, the larger dogs.
And if I
yes.
recall, you have to move the dog from the table actually to the tub.
To the tub, which is not much, but you use your legs and it's a parallel kind of move. And
Yeah, but still,
Yes.
and by yourself.
yeah,
That's an
and you
issue
kind of
people-
schedule your day so you're not doing 4 or 5 golden retrievers in a day. You may throw a large dog in with a couple of smaller dogs.
Okay. Now, when it comes to breeds, are there specific breeds that it's just easier for you? Like for you, it's a win-win. Like, oh, I love doing Bichons, or I prefer, or I.
No, well, once again, no.
Really?
All breeds they all act different. I think it's really their environment and not necessarily their breed.
Now, any hidden secrets that you just you like to share with us that you don't care too much about grooming because of either technology or because of the experience of grooming, or just things that are actually difficult that the pet owners don't know and take for granted that groomers have to deal with?
I just think it's having the patience, how the dog's going to fight you. So sometimes you'll find yourself working at the end of the week and you say, boy, I spent the whole entire week fighting with dogs. People have a tendency to think they're playing with dogs, or we're not playing with dogs. We're communicating with
Well, yeah,
dogs.
yeah.
We're handling with dogs, and sometimes you find that you've been fighting with the dog. Not physical, but trying to restrain him to do your job.
That's tough. Because you had mentioned that it's still open about moving to bricks and mortars.
Sure.
That's something you'd still be interested in
It's
doing.
something where I'm still investigating.
Well,
looking
good. Then we'll
into.
have to follow up on that, and I want to know what's going on. But basically, I want to thank you for coming.
And thank you for
It
having
was
me.
a fascinating show. This was amazing. I know a lot of people didn't know about most of these things. They take it for granted, and they take groomers for granted. And like I always try to tell people, being an animal control officer, being a groomer, realistically, in my opinion, can be a lot more dangerous. So again, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Truly appreciate it. Stephen Ferraro.
Thank you.
What? I can't hear you. Oh, yeah, I forgot. I could edit that later. How bad was that?